Ask yourself this, in a game with no beast tamer, what if anyone could still become a Tallbird whisperer? What if we could take an egg and raise it to a teen, only to then have it do our bidding? Well, we're here to find out. And for those of you who have been here for a while, you know my love for all things Tallbirds. And that should be very evident, just given how much we've actually talked about these beasts. Heck, my first ever video on this channel was dedicated to them, for Pete's sake. But all that said, there is still one thing I have never done with them. Pit them against the biggest of all bads around. So yes, we are here to put that all to the test. Let's get to it. But first things first, hatching the Tallbird eggs. Snatch one up in any fashion you please, drop it near a fire, wait a bit, and eventually the hatching process will begin. Now, chances are the egg will be too hot at first, so be quick to pick it up and move it further away from the fire, but bear in mind that you will occasionally be doing the exact opposite come nightfall or winter, so make notes. You will need to keep up this temperature juggling act for at least 3 days, otherwise you'll destroy the egg and kill what would have been a small bird here. Now, while followers in and of themselves, we aren't here to baby babies. You'll have to maintain their hunger, of course, but for our purposes here today, we will be skipping the diaper years by jumping 10 days into the future to reach their teen ones. Folks, our life as a hostile parent begins now, as we'll now have 18 days to command our new bird army. But hold up, Beard. One bird ain't an army. And you're right, so we best fix that by stealing every egg around, or with the potential help of a potential Tallbird fortress, of course. As yes, we can burden ourselves with multiple mouths to feed at once if we wish. The only thing stopping us will be time and patience in the hatching phase and food in their growing ones. But there will also be some immediate drawbacks in all this, in relation to the last bit actually. For you see, Teenbirds don't heal over time, and can only heal from eating rot, veggies, meat, and fruits from you or off the ground. Not great. They also cannot hop onto boats, nor will they teleport to them either if we get too far away, so unfortunately, all the aquatic bouts are off the table. Well, at least the legit table, if you know what I mean. But as we look to begin here, one last answer to a potential question of yours. No, Teenbirds do not gain the benefits of Warley spices, even when they eat them with meats, veggies, and so on. And that's kind of a shame, as they really could have benefited from them in certain fights for sure. But trust me when I say this, for other fights, it's not going to be needed at all. Take the Bee Queen here, for example. She is arguably one of the most difficult, most annoying bosses out there when tackling her quote-unquote solo. However, the Teenbirds did quite well against her at the end of the day. Similar to what we must do while using Bunnymen, Merms, or other followers, it is advised that we do our absolute best to keep as many Grumblebees off the birds as possible, as they go about doing most of the damage themselves, so make note there. Do that and they will have her usurped in less than half a day in most cases. Oh, and by the way, I will be using 10 to 15 birds per fight, just given the use of a Tallbird fortress in mind in case you were wondering. But wow, off to a good start. They did better than I expected. Moving on though to yet another interesting fight in the shadow pieces. Yes, in case you didn't know, the shadow pieces can be targeted by most followers in this game, as well as what known as catapults for Pete's sake. So don't go it alone if you're afraid of these big bad nightmares. That said, you should probably perhaps still be afraid of these big bad nightmares, as we do have a problem. Multi-target attackers. Both the Shadow Rook and Bishop can hit multiple things at once, and will do so very effectively as the fight goes on, and they level up, of course. Couple this with their high damage come those levels, and a Teenbird's lack of healing, and we will be losing all of our Teenbirds before the fight's finished, guaranteed. But don't fret, there is a solution. An utterly terrifying and dangerous solution, but a solution nonetheless. Folks, if you're willing to try something as stupidly time-consuming as using Tallbirds against bosses, and wish to kill these shadows of all shadows with them, you must make an effort to kill the Bishop and Rook first. Yes, you heard that right. We need to leave the very dangerous level 3 Shadow Knight for last. Otherwise, this fight is going to be done for us. Good luck. But how about a much easier bout after all that? How does the fiery Dragonfly stack up against the flock? Well, pretty poorly. And that's a good thing for us. I saw some issues arising with a basic wall method, given how the Tallbirds would maybe try to follow her to said wall, potentially leaving you out of the fight, if you know what I mean. So I went with walling off each individual pool, as you can see, so we could all follow her. Still, I think the former method will work just fine, so this is not the be-all, end-all. But if we're talking about ending it all for Dragonfly here, the Teenbirds will absolutely wipe the floor with her, honestly. Heck, with their help, I was able to deal enough damage in a short amount of time to render Dragonfly stunned twice in a row. This also led to her never getting an enraged phase started, therefore there was no need for a pan flute either. However, it's still best to keep one in your back pocket regardless. All in all, my flightless birds were able to ground a flying fly with ease. Keeping within the deserts though, what about Aunt Lyon? Ha! If you thought she was a joke before, then I don't know what you'd call her now. If I'm honest, she's always been one of the easiest bosses around, so we won't spend too much time on her. But I did notice that she targeted the birds more than me occasionally, which made it even easier, as you can imagine. So, fun stuff, I suppose. But how about a fight we can't win, Beard? Are there any, actually? Oh, sure. Like Claws here, for example. Don't get me wrong. The Teenbirds are very effective against him at first, and are indirectly super effective come his first elemental attack, but it will be a double-edged sword, so to speak. As soon as he uses his fire attack, every single bird will burst into flames and die out very quickly. But as you can see, this also leads to a significantly rapid drop in his health too, as he's also burning up. It's kind of funny actually, but it's still a no-go for this method. But now will that translate to something similar like Deerclops' freezing ability, Beard? Well, yes, but potentially no. For you see, if we use the cheeky mechanics of a campfire tanking method, but just supersize it, we can help keep our Teenbirds in the fight, as they will thaw out as quickly as they became birdsicles in the first place. In short, Clops' life will also be cut short, for sure. But what about another heavy hitter in the Ancient Guardian, perhaps? Nope, he shouldn't be too bad, actually. Yeah, sure, his ramming won't be too good for our group. However, they will likely stun him now and then, especially if you're helping in the fights, leading to very little attacks on his end. They will definitely be hurting after it, but they will still win, with most of them still alive. And that's what counts. So how about Moose Goose and her demon spawns? Put simply, neither have a chance. You might have difficulty getting the birds to catch up to the Mosslings to have them fight, but the fight itself overall should be a joke. So there's that. Berger is entirely off the table given his high damage and multi-target attacks, but I'm pretty sure most of you saw that one coming. Toadstool is probably our last interesting one, as it feels like it's almost possible, but only through a rather strange technique. For you see, involving yourself in the fight seems like an obvious thing to do. Only this will lead to him using boom shrooms occasionally, of which will absolutely decimate our entire flock after a few phases. You kinda truly forget how damaging boom shrooms are until you see something actually get hit by them, honestly. But what if we could try to effectively remove the boom shrooms from the equation? What if by letting the Tallbirds do every single point of damage themselves was the way to actually complete the battle? Well, it might not be the way to actually finish him off, but it is the only way to keep said Tallbirds alive long enough for them to actually matter at the end of the day. Unfortunately, we will run into problems when having to chop at least a few trees down come his charge phase, otherwise he'll just get too tough and fast, which is also going to lead to him getting close enough to us to launch his other attacks, so that's a shame. Plus, the moment he's able to stop towards the end of his fight, it's all over anyways. So it's a no-go on Toad. And finally, it will be a no-go as well with the Ancient Fuel Weaver here, and heck, the birds won't even be able to make it to his second phase for Pete's sake. He's too strong, his attacks hit way too many of them, and he does so too often. Not good, all around. But before we go, about those aquatic bouts. While 100% off the table, as I said earlier, both are easily completable with Teenbirds here, even if one is entirely stationary and the other is flying about all over the bloody ocean. We're talking the Crab King and the Melbatross here, in case you're confused. And if you ever do look to attempt the former yourself, just know it will be your job to stop his geyser/freezing abilities and claws while the birds do all the work on his health. Easy peasy. We've done it before with the Bunnyman method. Enjoy. But there you have it, everyone. Just a fun, totally unreasonable way to bring down many of the big bads within Don't Starve Together. Seriously, while it was fun experimenting with all this for the very first time, actually, I would not advise anyone to do any of this ever. But thanks for watching, folks. Well wishes to all. Teen birds are not the word, and I'll see ya in the next one. Bye-bye.